Hello everyone and welcome to the Jeffrey Epstein Show. I'm your host, Bobbycapucci, and this is a morning update. Hey, what's going on everybody? So the last 2 nights, I've only done 1 episode per day, and that's because I was busy comet chasing. I have spent so much time on the podcast that I thought the last couple of nights, considering that this comet won't be around for thousands of years again, that I'd take those 2 nights to myself and head on out and get some pictures of Neowise. So that is exactly what I did. Starting today, we'll be back on schedule, 2 episodes a day, sometimes 3, depending on what's going on in the Ghislaine Maxwell trial. We'll update the Ghislaine files when we have something that is important to add and not just some background noise or some context, of course. We'll always add that. But as far as the last couple of nights, let me tell you, if you have a chance to go out and check out this comet at any point in the next few days, I highly suggest you do it. It was an amazing experience. Where I was up at Red Rock Canyon, right outside of Las Vegas, if you look to the west, it was just the Milky Way ripping through the sky, visible to the naked eye even. And then when you look to the northwest, you'll see Neowise. And it was just like hanging in the sky like it was about to crash into the mountains. And it was just an epic experience. The first couple of nights that I went by myself. And then on Saturday night, I went with one of my best friends, Adrian, his brother Ryan. They're in the band Otherwise. My mom came out, my aunt came out, and my girlfriend came with us as well. And everybody was just hanging out, looking at the sky, taking pictures. It was just a great time. So if you're looking to get together with some of your friends or maybe some of your family and check out something pretty cool, I would highly suggest going out and checking out Neowise before it's gone. You'll probably need some binoculars or a camera. Sometimes it's visible to the naked eye, but I definitely suggest having some sort of binoculars or something like that so you can get a good look. All right, so on to today's article. I woke up to the news that the federal judge who had just been given the case of the Deutsche Bank situation with Epstein, well, I woke up to the news that her husband and her son were gunned down by some sort of disguised FedEx driver. What in the hell is going on, folks? In the streets of the United States of America, we have the family of federal judges getting gunned down in front of their homes. Well, we know this most certainly isn't mafioso, because the mafia is not whacking anybody's family, and they're certainly not whacking any judge's family. So we could throw the mafia right out the window. Cartels? Possibly. This is definitely has the hallmarks of a cartel hit. Okay, that's definitely something that could be put in the category of a possibility. We'd have to go through and look at all of her cases and see just exactly who she's put into prison recently, what sort of situations she has found herself in, meaning what sort of people she was hearing cases against, and obviously a lot of things go into that. But this certainly has all of the hallmarks of a hit. And then we get to our favorite people, the people that operate in the shadows, the people that were responsible for Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell being able to do what they did. And the question has to be asked, did anyone involved with Epstein or around Epstein have anything to do with this horrendous situation in front of Judge Salas's house? I'm looking at pictures of her husband and her kid right now, and it's heartbreaking. What is wrong with the world? What is wrong with people in general? At what point in time is it a good idea to drive up to someone's house and shoot their husband and their son? Here's an idea. You don't want a judge to hear your case, or you don't want a judge to sentence you to prison for the rest of your life? Don't be an asshole. How about that? Try to be a decent human being. I know it's tough for some people out there, but just try and be a decent human being. All right, this article is from the Daily Mail. The headline, federal judge's son, 20, is shot dead, and her criminal defense attorney husband is critically injured after a gunman disguised as a FedEx driver ambushed their home 4 days after she was assigned a case linked to Jeffrey Epstein. This article was authored by Andrew Snell and James Gordon. Now, again, we don't know why her husband and son were shot. We don't know what initiated it. We don't know if it had anything to do with Jeffrey Epstein at all. But, again, how many coincidences are there going to be in this case? How many times are we going to read the news and see something like this that has to do with the Jeffrey Epstein case? So it is most assuredly worthy of us talking about. It is most assuredly worthy of adding it to the catalog. And we have to just keep our eye on things because, as we all know, these people that we're dealing with on a daily basis here on this podcast and in the Jeffrey Epstein case as a whole, these are some of the most devious, sick, disgusting human beings in the history of the planet. So it is certainly not above them to hire a hitman to take anybody out, in my opinion. The son of a federal judge has been shot dead and her husband critically wounded after they were attacked at their home by a gunman dressed as a FedEx driver. The attack happened at the home of Esther Salas, 51, an Obama-appointed district court judge in North Brunswick, New Jersey, on Sunday evening. Again, how in the world in the United States of America do we have a situation where judges are even getting their family clipped? Federal judges are being targeted for assassination in the United States of America. That is how lawless this nation has become. That is how much our Department of Justice has failed us. The judge's 20-year-old son, Daniel Anderl, was killed, and her defense attorney husband, Mark Anderl, 63, was critically injured. Daniel, who was the couple's only child, is believed to have opened the door to the gunman at around 5 p.m. He was shot in the heart immediately, according to friends of the family. How flippin' horrible is this? Imagine this kid comes down the stairs, someone's ringing the doorbell, he opens looks through the peephole, I'm guessing. I know I don't just open the door, but I'm sure he looks to see who it is. A guy dressed in a FedEx outfit opens the door, dude pulls out his smoke wagon and blows this kid away. That is some shit straight out of a movie, folks. Okay? That is the kind of shit you see happening in places like Sicily or Mexico City. This doesn't happen in America, and it shouldn't happen in America, and it's disgusting. To have their only child murdered like this by some madman? What is wrong with the world, folks? What in the hell is wrong with the world? His father, Mark, was then shot several times when he went to the front door to see what had happened. The gunman fled. And look, I have never really been a guy who thought it was a great idea to own a gun, right? I've never needed one. I've always used a baseball bat for protection around the house like a true Ginzaloon would do. But at this point in time, I think it's crucial that everybody who is allowed to have a firearm and is in a state that allows it, I think that everybody should have one. And I'm going out and buying myself a firearm as well, because this is just crazy. We live in a crazy world. We live in a nation where people are allowed to kick in gates and show up on people's front lawns and go crazy and act the fool. And I don't want any part of it. All right? I don't want any part of this animalistic behavior. And if somebody shows up at my door, FedEx suit on, whatever the hell they're wearing, well, I'm going to make sure that I have a weapon to defend myself and my loved ones, because it is quite obvious that this country is turning into the wild, wild west. Judge Salas had recently been assigned to a civil financial fraud case tied to Jeffrey Epstein. It was brought by Deutsche Bank investors who claim the bank made false and misleading statements about its anti-money laundering policies and failed to monitor high-risk customers, including convicted sex offender billionaire Jeffrey Epstein. And look, there's a lot here that smells like shit, folks, okay? But I'm not going to go out on a limb here and say, oh, this definitely has to do with Jeffrey Epstein. Someone came and clipped this lady and shot her husband and her son because of I don't know that. Is it a possibility? 100%, especially considering the players that we're dealing with in our story. But it is also true that Judge Salas has probably sent some pretty nasty people to prison in her time, and any one of them could have wanted retaliation as well. So we have to be very careful here. But again, it is important that we explore it. It is important that we ask the questions. And it is very important that we put all of the facts that we know on the table. That way we can do what we always do, read between the lines and try and make heads of tails. Earlier this month, the bank agreed to pay a $150 million fine for continuing to work with Epstein after he was convicted of soliciting underage prostitutes in 2008. And as far as that $150 million fine goes, I said it when I first read the article about Deutsche Bank, but I truly believe that that money should go into the estate fund so the girls get that money and the state doesn't. Because let me tell you what, they've earned it, the state has not, okay? Judge Salas also sent TV stars Teresa and Joe Giudice from The Real Housewives of New Jersey to jail for tax evasion and fraud. Well, I highly doubt that Joe Giudice and Teresa Giudice were involved in setting up a whacking clip on this lady's family. Highly doubt they sent some zips in to clip her. All right? But again, like I was just saying earlier, there are some high-profile cases, I'm sure, that this judge has sat in on, and I'm sure she sent some very disgusting people to prison, people who lay in that cell and dream about getting revenge. It's unclear whether her husband is actively involved in any cases. Friends say she often made remarks about her job, making her a target for attacks, but that recently she was not concerned. As a judge, she had threats from time to time, but everyone is saying that recently there had not been any. Francis Mac Womack, the mayor of North Brunswick, New Jersey, told the Washington Post. All right, well, so recently there had been no threats to her, according to Francis Mac Womack. And there had been nobody who had been showing themselves as a threat. And then she gets the Jeffrey Epstein Deutsche Bank case, and 4 days later she's clipped. Interesting. She had some high-profile cases, and she was always a little concerned. Marion Costanza, who lives 3 doors down from the family, said, Anderl was a prosecutor for 10 years before switching to private practice. During his time in the prosecutor's office, he tried more than 100 cases, including 33 murder trials, said that Daniel was shot through the heart. Mark is reportedly in critical but stable condition at Robert Wood Johnson Hospital in New Brunswick. Now, her husband being a criminal defense attorney and a one-time prosecutor, that definitely adds a little more fat to the story, right? It could have been somebody that they were looking to clip the husband and not the wife. And this could have had nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein at all. Or they could have wanted it to look like it had nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein in his case. And, you know, on the flip side, it really was. Again, we have no idea. But what we have to try and do is navigate through these waters and see where we come up. Judge Salas is believed to have been in the basement of the home during the shooting and was unharmed in the attack. She and Daniel were close, neighbors said, and she was devastated when he moved away from home to go to college. I think she cried for a week, and that's just in D.C. He was her only child, Costanza added. God, this is horrible. This poor judge, man. And her husband. Their son gets killed. The husband gets shot, seriously wounded. And all the while, she is down in the basement. Imagine coming up to that scene, your husband shot, your child dead. It's just mind-numbingly sad to think about. She said Daniel was a good-natured boy who once brought her supplies during a snowstorm. There's no one like them. They're extremely good-natured. They would do anything for anyone, she said. That's just crazy. That is just crazy to think that these people would be put at risk at their home, this judge, her husband, her family, and some psychotic maniac has the balls to do this to a federally elected official. This is the sort of nation we're living in. This is the sort of lawless society that we're living in. And you wonder why people don't want to come forward as sources on the record in this case? You wonder why people don't want to put their name to anything in this case? Salas staggered... Excuse me, one second. Oh, there we go. Another said, "You don't expect anything like this around here. We all know our neighbors. We all greet each other and it's a quiet area." Crime scene tape could be seen stretching around the perimeter of the family home located in the Hidden Lake section of North Brunswick. The street had been closed off to traffic. It's just such a horrible scene. I'm trying to picture it in my mind, the whole scene, the doorbell ringing, the man showing up in the FedEx suit, shooting the son, the husband running in, him getting shot as well, this man fleeing, and then the judge coming up and seeing what's going on. It's just, I don't even know what to say. I wonder, though, what sort of CCTV footage there is. There has to be some sort of closed camera footage, you would think, right? In a place like this, you would think that the judge and her family would have cameras at their house, or neighbors would have cameras. So I'm sure that there is some footage of the perpetrator. Salas staggered their sentences so that one of them could be available to take care of their 4 children. In 2007, she barred federal prosecutors from seeking the death penalty against an alleged gang leader charged in several Newark slayings, ruling the man's intellectual disability made him ineligible for capital punishment. Salas later sentenced the man, the leader of the Newark Blood Street Gang, to 45 years in prison. So, all right, we see here she's dealing with the Blood Street Gang, so I wonder how many people in the Bloods she has put away, and what sort of resentment they have for her. She has also dealt with cases involving members of the Grape Street Crips, according to NJ.com. The case was a connection with a long-running drug trafficking network that was taken down by the FBI in 2015. So again, she has been dealing with some surly customers, right? Some really dangerous people. And when you're talking about drug dealers and criminal organizations like this, they certainly don't have the same honor, per se, as a big organization like the Mafia would. And they are not above targeting federal officials, judges, cops, whatever it may be. And you see this in places like Mexico a lot. They intimidate the law enforcement officers. That way, the law enforcement officers won't do their jobs to their fullest ability. And I really, really, really would not want to see any of that kind of situation take hold here in America on a regular basis, because that is not the kind of place I want to live. I don't know about the rest of you, but I don't want to live in a place where we have cowboys, crazy knuckleheads running up into federal judges' yards and shooting people. That's some scary shit, folks. Judge Salas had received death threats in the past, but as of Sunday night, authorities have not suggested the shootings are linked to any of her previous cases. Well, they have to do the investigations, right? Nobody knows what's what here. This is just all preliminary. What we're talking about here on the podcast today, what the investigators are saying, all preliminary. We're going to have to see how this unfolds and see where the evidence leads us. As a judge, she had threats from time to time, but everyone is saying that recently there had not been any, said Mayor Womack to ABC News, who is friends with the judge and her husband. No words can express the sadness and loss we share tonight as a community after senseless shootings of the husband and son of USDC Judge Esther Salas, she said. The mayor said investigators are now trying to get a hard make on the vehicle to try and track the suspect. You're telling me that there's no cameras? Nobody has any cameras? What do you mean you need a hard make? This is a rich neighborhood, obviously, a well-to-do neighborhood. Nobody had any CCTV footage, right? Nobody? Stop it. You guys, there has to be some footage. We commit to do all we can to support the family in this time, as well as all law enforcement agencies involved, Womack said. The mayor noted how close the family appeared to be. He is a very, very exuberant, vibrant, 100% pleasant person, Womack said to CNN. He loves to talk about his wife, and he loves to brag about his son, and how his son would excel in baseball, and how he was doing down in college in Washington. I'm just very sorry to see him going through this. It's horrible. This father is going to wake up from his injuries or whatever, and he's going to find out his son is dead. And I know as a man, I know I would feel less than, knowing that I wasn't able to protect my family. So I can only imagine the emotions that this man is going to go through, and my heart goes out to him for real, for real. The U.S. Marshals have also been called to provide the judge with a security detail, according to a law enforcement official. Salas had sat a judge on the U.S. District Court for New Jersey in Newark for 9 years and was the first Hispanic woman to serve on the federal bench in the state. Before that, she spent 5 years as a magistrate judge and 9 years prior to that as a federal public defender before President Barack Obama nominated her to serve as a district court judge in 2010. The daughter of a Cuban mother and a Mexican father, Salas spent part of her childhood on welfare after a fire destroyed the Union City apartment, according to the Globe. I always love that kind of story, right? Somebody that came from nothing, made themselves into something, and found themselves sitting on the bench in a very, very high position. And the nation of America is littered with those sorts of stories, by the way, folks. We hear a lot about the bad all the time, but there is a lot of good still. A lot of stories like this, people who came from nothing and scratched and fought and then built themselves a little bit of success. And to see this lady, who obviously came from hardly anything, little means, very poor, to work her way all the way up to where she was at, and then to have to go through a tragedy like this, it's just horrible. This whole situation is just horrible. Her husband, Mark Anderl, also works in legal circles and served as an assistant prosecutor in Essex County, New Jersey for 10 years before becoming a criminal defense attorney. Salas met her husband when he was working as a prosecutor and she was working as a law school intern. He spotted her getting fingerprinted and came over to talk to her, she told New Jersey Monthly in February 2018. We've been inseparable since 1992, she said. New Jersey's politicians were quick to react. New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy said in a statement, Judge Salas and her family are in our thoughts at this time as they cope with this senseless act. This tragedy is our latest reminder that gun violence remains a crisis in our country and that our work to make every community safer isn't done. That's such a stupid-ass statement. Gun violence? It has nothing to do with gun violence. There's a hitman, bro. We're talking about an actual hit, and this guy's talking about gun violence? Talk about trying to push your politics when there's no need for it. Gun violence. Bafangul. I know Judge Salas and her husband well, and was proud to recommend her to President Obama for nomination to New Jersey's federal bench. My prayers are with Judge Salas and her family, and that those responsible for this horrendous act are swiftly apprehended and brought to justice, said Democratic New Jersey Senator Bob Menendez in a statement. Well, Bob Menendez, how about you get busy and you unleash investigators in the FBI and let them go and find who this person was and bring them to justice? Because I don't want to hear there's no CCTV footage of this man or anything like that. That's bullshit. There's cameras everywhere. They have footage of everything. The FBI, U.S. Marshals, New Jersey State Police, along with the New Jersey Office of the Attorney General, have been on the scene of the shooting throughout Sunday evening. The FBI is investigating a shooting that took place at the home of Judge Esther Salas in North Brunswick Township, New Jersey, early this evening, July 19th. We are working closely with our state and local partners and will provide additional updates when available, the Bureau said in a statement. So far, police have not announced any arrests or named any suspects. However, the FBI tweeted it was looking for one subject in the shooting. So, from this, what we can take is we don't know anything, right? Could it be something to do with Epstein and the Deutsche Bank case? 100%. I'm not willing to take that leap fully yet because we're dealing with people who are responsible for putting a lot of people in jail. Her husband and her both probably made some enemies along the way, right? With the people that they sentenced. So we're going to need more information here. We're going to need some more meat on the bone, and we certainly are going to need to follow these stories as they come out. So as of now, we don't know what the hell's going on here, folks. We don't know if this is related to Epstein or not. We don't know if it's just random. We don't know if it's a coincidence. We do not know. But what I will say is this. There are way too many coincidences in this Jeffrey Epstein case for me to believe that it is all just happenstance. So I'm going to continue to follow this, see where it goes, and we will continue to see how these cards fall. If you'd like to contact me, you can do that at bobbycapucci@protonmail.com. That's BOBBYCAPUCCI@protonmail.com. You can also find me on Twitter at BOBBY_CAPUCCI. All of the links that pertain to this episode are in the description box, and to all of you who have donated to the GoFundMe, thank you very much. All right, folks, we'll be back later on tonight with the Daily Drop.